Hey guys, how's it going? It's Alexander here to bring you another video. This video is going to be a bit different. It's going to be a video based on some research that I've done in regards to the origin of one of my favorite games of all time, Super Smash Bros. The format of this video is basically going to be me giving what I've been researching upon, stuff that I've found, and this is purely going to be based on the origins and how Smash 64 came to be. And then afterwards I'll give my opinion on how I feel towards the game and just some general thoughts on it as well. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So it did start as a prototype that was originally made by Sakurai, and the name of it was called Dragon King the Fighting Game. And at first, of course, there were no Nintendo characters. It was basically just a bunch of 3D models fighting with each other that kind of had some sort of a resemblance to Captain Falcon's physique. So they had those characters in the game that were fighting amongst each other, and once they started developing the game a bit more and more, Sakurai introduced the idea of including Nintendo characters, and this provided an atmosphere for their home console since they were using the characters that had their games on the Nintendo 64, and it helped them out with the branding as well, of course. And it did end up getting approved by Nintendo, and originally the game was only going to be a Japan-only release. It did have a small budget and there wasn't a lot of promotion for it, but later it was released worldwide, and of course it was developed by HAL, with Sakurai at the lead of it. Excuse me. And some of the notable titles that it had was Mother, Kirby, of course Mario, Star Fox, and it sold over 1 million copies in Japan before it was released worldwide. And that's basically the gist of how Smash Bros. Came to be. It did start off as basically a bare basic fighting game with just a couple regular 3D models, and it came to be what we know today as Super Smash Bros. And my personal thoughts on the whole thing is it's pretty crazy when you think about the fact that Nintendo has this sort of reputation of just inserting their characters into these games. You look at some of the recent stuff that they've done with Fire Emblem Warriors coming up. That's basically taking Dynasty Warriors and implementing their characters into it, same way as they did it with Hyrule Warriors. And Star Fox Adventures, if you go back to that even, that was going to be its own IP, but they ended up implementing Fox into that, and that ended up being a pretty good game as well. But topic for another day. But I do think it's pretty cool to find out all this about a game that I've spent a good amount of my life playing, and it's basically been one of my, if not the game that I've been playing the most lately. So it's pretty cool finding out all this information in regards to it, and I think it's quite possibly one of the greatest series of all time. You can't really look at any of the games and say they were a failure in their own. All of them did really well. Smash 64 was great. Melee is still around to this day. Smash 64 as well to some extent, but not to the extent of Melee, which is just, it has a huge community for it as well, and it's really a growing community as well, and I'm definitely a fan of watching Melee as well. And you've got Brawl, which had its dedicated fan base as well. Sure, it had its ups and downs in terms of the FGC community, but other than that, it was still a pretty successful game. And then you've got Smash 4, which is an ever-growing game, and it's even taking the Sunday spot for EVO 2017. So it's going to be basically like the main event for it as well. So it's really cool to find out the origins of where all these games started. When you look at it, the fact that it started off as, basically another IP that Nintendo was going to be making, and it transformed into this. It's incredible when you think about it and you see all the progress that's been made from 1999 all the way up to this point in 2017. So those are my personal thoughts on how the game is, on the origins of the game and how it came to be. I think it's all a pretty cool story, and of course I am very grateful to Sakurai as well for bringing us this game, because it's quite possibly like one of the greatest games of all time, especially when you look at more recently. You see Smash 4 has characters like Cloud, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Sonic, and when you consider that all these characters are fighting alongside Mario, you've even got Bayonetta in it. It's just such a diverse game with so many characters. It truly revolutionized, I think at least, the fighting game aspect of it, because it's not anything like any other fighter. You look at some fighters, you can compare certain aspects of them, but if you look at Smash Brothers, it's completely different. You can't take someone who's good at, say, Street Fighter, Tekken, any of those other fighting games, and throw them in Smash Brothers, and they'll be familiar with maybe some of the mechanics, but not nearly all of them, because it's just an all-around different game that takes a different approach to the term fighting game. It's not just, your two characters in an enclosed space. So I think it's awesome, and I love all the games in the series as well for it as also. And of course, I do watch most of the series that gets played. I watch some Smash 64 competitive, Melee, of course. It's one of the biggest things to watch right now. Brawl occasionally, and Smash 4 definitely as well. I'm actually trying to get into the competitive scene for Smash 4 as well, so there's that too. But other than that, that's pretty much all that I have for you guys today. This was basically my brief research that I did on the Smash Brothers Origins. What I gave you was like a small synopsis of it, and look forward to more videos like this in the future. I'm probably gonna try to work out the kinks a bit more as well, but definitely expect this to turn into sort of a series, because I do have some more research that it could be research, but it could also be just me giving my opinions on certain topics as well, because I do just enjoy speaking my mind, and also any opinions that I may have that would be interesting, or that could make great conversation with it as well. So of course, if you have any thoughts on Smash Brothers as a whole, definitely leave a comment down below, and if you like this video, feel free to like it as well. And of course, definitely expect more content from me in the future. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I do hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.